Music is a language that animals understand. So, you don't have to talk to an animal with words. They're energetic beings. They're working off of your energy. Everything is energy, energy, energy. And music is an energy. So they get it.
Hi, guys, and welcome to the House Call Vet Cafe podcast. I'm Dr. Eve Harrison. I'm a full-time integrative concierge house call veterinarian in Los Angeles, and I help other vets to build their unique mobile practices on their terms. This podcast is for and by house call and mobile veterinarians, so it is meant to give our community a platform to connect, to share our stories, to lift each other up, and to support each other. Most of us work solo as lone wolves, right? So for me, it's been really powerful to be able to physically hear the voices of my colleagues from all over the world and to get a chance to feel that we truly are part of a community of very real other human beings who get it. While you may be alone in that little bubble of your own vehicle when you're on the road seeing patients, I welcome you to join our community by tuning into our own podcast when you're on your way to your next house call. Whether you're a super experienced house call vet with 30 years of experience, you're a brand new prospective house call vet just looking to get started, or you're house call curious, there will be something for you in this podcast. Each episode, you will hear interviews from other mobile veterinarians just like yourself who are doing unique and innovative things, vets who are sharing their stories, their struggles and challenges, and you can also look forward to hearing valuable information and perspectives from specialists and experts outside of our micro niche. And finally, if becoming a house call veterinarian is something that you've been thinking about exploring, or you're looking for some extra support getting your own mobile practice to feel more profitable and sustainable for you, check out the information in the show notes about my course and our above and beyond supportive private community for members only, plus our monthly group coaching sessions within the House Call Vet Academy. You can also check out my free public Facebook group, which is also called the House Call Vet Cafe, the same name as this podcast, and which is a warm and cozy community for mobile vets to support each other in professional and personal development, in creative entrepreneurship, and in friendship. So thank you guys for spending time with me today. Let's dive into the episode.
Hey everyone, this is kind of a fun episode. I'm actually recording this from my office. I'm in my car. I'm in Bel Air right now. I just finished a house call. I'm running a little bit behind, which is pretty much my MO. As I always say, I'm on dog and cat time. And so so our guest today is joining me from my car, and I'm super excited to welcome for you guys to meet a guest that I have been wanting to have on for ages. And I finally pegged her down thanks to Dr. Dale, that you guys know from maybe episode, I don't even know what episode it was, but it was a while back. For anyone who listens to the show, you know Dr. Dale. So today we have the marvelous Janet Marlow with us. She is the founder and CEO of Pet Acoustics, which is a pioneering company that develops music and sound solutions tailored to the auditory sensitivities of animals. With decades of expertise in sound frequency and animal behavior, she's created innovative products to enhance the well-being of pets, including dogs, cats, horses, and birds. And I happen to know also rabbits. I'll tell you a little funny story in just a moment about rabbits. Janet's groundbreaking research has been featured globally, earning her recognition as a leader in animal wellness. Her products, like Pet Tunes, are used by pet owners, shelters, and veterinary facilities to reduce stress and create calming environments. Passionate about enriching the lives of animals, Janet continues to advance her mission of harmony between humans and their pets through sound. So welcome, Janet. And I also wanted to welcome you with a funny little thing that is occurring here on my end. Not only am I in my car, but I literally have the Pocket Pets and Rabbit Pet Toes Cube literally playing in my car, and I can't turn it off because it is in a package that I'm about to send to my vet tech who has a rabbit. And somehow it started playing yesterday and it's still going. And I figured I would just let the battery run out and then I'll send it. So literally in the background, we have actually Pet Tunes playing, and I didn't do that on purpose. All right. So anyway, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you've been able to join me, and I love your work so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate what you do. So this is a mutual admiration podcast.
The Mutual Admiration podcast. I love it. I love it. So I wanted to start out the show how I always start out, which is to ask, Do you have any favorite snacks that you eat in the car?
I don't eat a lot of snacks, but there is one place where I get a lot of things for my home, and it's a place called the Pantry, and they make great muffins. So I always get a muffin, and that's what I eat in my car. Yeah.
Amazing. Muffins are
And
great snacks. I love muffins. Do you have like a particular flavor of muffin?
I love blueberries, so anything with blueberries is great. So blueberry muffins never makes it home, and yeah, I arrive smiling. Yeah.
Fantastic. Blueberries are so healthy for you too. Like a lot of really good home cooked recipes for animals have blueberries in them also. So yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you. I'm a blueberry love.
Anti-inflammatory, that's the name of the game. Yeah.
Exactly. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story. How did you get to be the CEO of such an amazing and interesting company? And I know you've got a musical background, you've got a little bit of an animal background, and how did it all converge so that you created these absolutely adorable pet acoustic cubes? Like, and if you'd like to tell people a little bit more about what the product is that you've developed, I'd love to hear about that too.
Well, I'm fifth generation composer in my family, musician, and so the understanding of music has been very profound for me in my life. And having played instruments and having been a recording artist and having been a performer for many, many years, understood the power of music for humans. And in
Really?
1994, one of my cats, Osborne, was lost in the woods and he was 15. Probably should not have been an indoor outdoor cat at that time, but you can't tell them no. And so he was injured. I took him to the vet, and for 5 days I went to sing to him because at that point I was just singing and performing, and my pets would come to my side to appreciate the music, but they would go into a deep, deep muscular relaxation from the music. Anyway, when he passed, and it struck me with many, many questions like, what is it about music? What is it about their hearing? Why is it so profound for them? And for about 3 years, into 1997, I researched, like, what do veterinarians know about hearing? At that point, there was a page and a half of information on animal hearing. In 1997, things have drastically changed, but I started researching Hefner and Hefner at the University of Toledo in Ohio. They have done magnificent research. I contacted them. They actually mailed me research studies. Anyway, I analyzed, and then I came up with a concept. So humans, when you mix and master music in a recording for humans, you want depth, space, you want spectrum, you want to move people, whether it's classical, rock, anything, it's all the same. The idea is just to move the energy of the human in different directions. For animals, not so much. I said, how could it be? I don't want to agitate an animal with exciting volumes and shots of fortes and frequencies, and because they rest 10 hours a day, they're looking for calm and peace. That's why we love them so much, because they take us into that realm for ourselves. And they're grounded in the earth, which is all about balance. And so I came up with a formula of analyzing music digitally so that it brought whatever sounds and instrumentation and orchestration that I did as an original composition, made it perfect for the cons of their hearing range, because there are only a few things in life, which is frequency, vibration, and tones. And so by modifying music for an animal's hearing, getting it right in the sweet spot in the center, where there is no ultra high frequency, which is a trigger for hypervigilance, or sub low frequency, same idea. And if the atmosphere surrounding an animal, because of their acute hearing, is in the right frequency and volume level, they completely release muscle tension. They feel safe. They feel connected to their environment. And there's no reason for them to have stress. And we know now, after all these years, stress means illness. Calm means health. Those are the statements I say to self and I say to you. So I wanted to share that I have frequency charts, but this is kind of short and sweet here. It's amazing. So this little thing here, that's human hearing. If you can hear from 20 to 20,000 hertz, which means cycles per second, a sound per second, like that, you're doing pretty good. Mostly we hear minimally. And as you know, humans hear sound great when they're born. And as we get older, like that. So this is equine hearing. Horses and humans have the most closely related hearing ranges of any mammal on the planet, which is amazing because horses and humans are so bonded. You know, you whisper into a horse's ear with your voice, and it's just amazing. Canines, dogs, hear twice as much as we do, twice as much. And cats hear 3 times, maybe more now, they're discovering, more than humans. So a lot of people don't even know that cats hear more than dogs. So this little chart here is very important because now if you look at the human hearing, this is our capacity. And their capacity is all the way up here. So these are the sounds that an animal in your care is hearing with frequencies that we are not experiencing. And this is why it's so important to address animal hearing on a scientific understanding, because it triggers behavior. Hearing triggers behavior. And when they're outside, when I walk my dog, it is a sniff-a-thon because their nose is what is driving their interest and engaging their brain and their being. It's an incredible thing. So that's how I feel about tennis. It just engages everything. But when they're in the home or they're in a vet clinic or you're working with them, you know, in your home vet practice, this is what they're depending on for their survival, hearing. And they just hear incredibly well, and it triggers behavior. So I think my job has been for many, many years and will continue to be to bring this understanding to all people that have pets for any capacity so that they understand, hey, this is what I have to be sensitive to so that I can help my pet have a better life through health and through hearing health. So that's kind of how it all started. And as a result, I became so in love with the pet world and doing this work that I transitioned out of being a performer and started Pet Acoustics as a general umbrella for product development so that I could instill the music into Bluetooth speakers and collar devices and many other things so that I didn't have to be all the time to explain everything. It just became this vehicle between the pet owner and the pet, and all the pet owner had to do was to turn it on, and everything else had been modified and gauged for the pet so that it would guarantee pet relaxation.
Beautiful. I love this sort of, and I feel very connected to you as a musician myself. And I find myself being very curious to hear a little bit more about your career as a musician. Like, what kinds of music were you doing and what were you recording? And I also felt the need to, as you were mentioning, hearing loss in humans. I play the flute, but I also play the piccolo in symphony. And so I have recently got my hearing checked, and I actually have like quite a bit of hearing loss at the upper range. And now I have these special hearing aids. I'm not hearing aids, excuse me, but earplugs for when I play the piccolo with the symphony. It's incredibly loud and incredibly high pitched. And so I've always been very, very sensitive and very attuned to music and how sound impacts our patients and animals in general. And so I really love the connection that you embody essentially between music and animals. And it's like basically like two of my most passionate interests combined. And I think it's just really cool how what you do is that combination. So yeah, I mean, I'm really curious to know a little bit more about your life as a musician.
I had a very intriguing life as a musician. I played piano when I was 4. I was a violinist when I was 11. My father was a violinist, so he encouraged me. And then a friend of mine couldn't tune her guitar, and that was the time when everybody was playing the guitar. And so I picked it up and I said, oh, I can do this. I can do this. And then within 3 days, I like knew everything, you know, all the chords. And I was like just a natural instrument for me. So I majored in classical guitar. I was the only female, and there were 6 other males. There was hardly any major classical guitar players in the world. And then when I was 23, I hopped on a plane with 5 years of French and went to Spain to study with Narciso Yepes, who is world famous. And I had a great time in Spain and hung out with a lot of flamenco guitarists and the cafes, et cetera, et cetera. It was a good time. But I learned very deeply, the works of my specialty is like 1535. And then I came back, I debuted at Carnegie Recital Hall. I had managers, I toured all over. I did performances for people. It was always, I love the circle that you understand that the giving of the music and bringing the humanity and the listening to a higher plane for humans during a performance so that they elevate themselves, whether they know it or not. And that circle is just a beautiful thing. And I always loved talking to my audience. To me, they were friends, and they was like, thank you for being here, you know. And then I had 2 children. They're now in their 30s, 2 wonderful sons. And I had to get off the road because I was not going to be one of those mothers that say, I've got my manager, blah, 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 I gotta go. And very dedicated to my kids. So I switched to jazz because in jazz, you could do a gig and then be home for your children and make the tuna fish sandwiches. But seriously, I was very lucky. They did a Guitar Player magazine, did articles on me, and I played the 10-string guitar, which is very unusual. It's 4 extra bass notes. And I have many recordings. I have my own radio station on Spotify, Janet Marlow Radio, if anybody's interested in listening to my other self with music as a composer. And I played with world-class musicians, all Pat Metheny's group, Mark Megan, Danny Gottlieb.
Oh, I love Pat Metheny.
Alex
Amazing.
Foster. I mean, I wrote a tune for Pat Metheny. I mean, I performed with Dave Brubeck's son, Chris Brubeck. I recorded Take 5. It just, as life does, moves you on into realms as you progress. And then I would say in 2007, 2008, the grip of helping animals and pet people really took my heart. And it was a growing field. It was a very even playing field between men and women because it wasn't egocentric for everybody. It had this outside purpose. And I just loved that idea. And going to trade shows and speaking, I did a lot of speaking. And then all through this, developing more products and then writing books and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now I have a patent pending. I developed the first pet hearing test for dogs and cats, speaking of hearing. So I've had 20 people try it already. It's free on my website, but we're coming out. When I say we, I mean me. I'm coming out with
Me, myself, and I. Yeah.
coming out with an app so that it'll be a global access, and it tests high frequencies, mid frequencies, and low frequencies. And then I gathered all the information of 4,000 people that have taken the test for their dogs and cats. And there's nothing like it. And clearly, just like humans, pets start with high frequency hearing, and they lose that at about 9 years, 10 years, 11 years old. Dogs and cats, the same. And then there's like this little spike for some reason, which I can't explain, and then it trails off. So that's published in the International Animal Health Journal, and all my studies are on my Pet Acoustics website. So again, I think this is kind of a culmination of my work with animals, just that hearing, and now people can do it. So there's only 2 other ways people can test their pet's hearing. So veterinarians, as you know, they jingle keys and they do the prior testing, the flicking, which is great and it's quick. And then there's the Bayer brainstem hearing test that they transferred over from what they do with humans to pets, but you have to find a veterinarian who has that test. And I think it's about $450. And then they put sensors all over the stress level must be just insane. So it's a digital test and you'll be able to do it from any device. And many people do not know if their pet has actual hearing or not. And we are always late to the party. I always say pet parents are always lagging behind their pets' development, either maybe even as a puppy into adulthood, teenagehood and adulthood. But as they get older, you may think it's behavioral, but it's just your dog just doesn't hear, or they're not hearing that high frequency anymore. So for me, the scientific and biometric studies that I've done is all behind the music. And we just did the last study, which proved that pet acoustics music, the music that I've been developing for all these years, is more effective than classical music. So I'm about 5 years ahead of all the people that's saying, we're going to use classical music. But my music is actually perfect for an animal's hearing. It's the design, the instrumentation, the frequency setting, the volume level, the tones, and the research that I've done. I love recording flute. Flute for an animal is primo. Any sustaining instruments, some guitar, piano, but not in a percussive way. And if you go on YouTube and you see all these relaxing music, Mozart did not write music for dogs. I guarantee you he did.
Yeah.
And so the study that I did, and it was actually stimulated by Dr. Temple Grandin, who we all know and
Oh,
respect.
amazing.
Right. She called me. I told her of my work. I sent an email around to Dr. Marty Becker and the Fear Free, all the scientists involved. And she called me and we had this conversation. She said, Janet, you need to do a study to prove that your music is better than classical music. And we described it and she talked about it. And I was so impressed and so grateful. And I challenge accepted. And so I did this study with 12 golden retrievers at ECAD, which is the Educated Canines Assisting with Disabilities, the most beautiful dogs that are raised for 2 years to go off with veterans and children with disabilities. It's the most wonderful place. I had a great time. I also used the Pet Pace biometric collar, which is a sensory collar that went on each of the dogs, and it could determine their pulse rate, their HRV, their activity level, whether they had a fever, all of their biometrics while they were listening to 3 stages of the study. One was no music, and every time I walked into the kennel, I apologized because they use music to calm down the dogs, but we had to show how the atmosphere of no music in a kennel affected the dogs biometrically. So we did that, and then I used pet acoustics music, not a peep. Dogs were happy. Their biometrics were smooth. Then we put on classical music, common classical music selections that a lot of other studies have used those particular works because I wanted to use that as a comparison. And the dogs would be like really happy during the slow pianissimo sections and then Beethoven, the percussion or whatever it was that there's no control over the volume level of classical music because it's designed to move people, as I was saying right from the beginning. So I proved through biometrics, through pulse rate, HRV, and activity level, showed that my music calmed the dogs further than classical music. Of course, the no music charts, they were just wired and stressed and barking. But it was a very exciting study to do because I am a classical musician and I'm now telling all my ancestors, thanks, guys, but no, we've moved this on to something else for animals. And it's just been, that was recent. That was in March of this year. And again, all my works, all my studies are published and peer reviewed.
This is so brilliant. You are living the dream on so many levels, and I relate so much. Again, I'm also classically trained. The symphony music is what I've been trained on. And, as you were speaking, you were saying, Mozart was not for dogs and cats. I have kind of a funny situation that I thought I might tell you about. Maybe you have some thoughts about it. First of all, when I play the piccolo, which is exactly an octave above the flute, I also play the bass flute, by the way, which is, octave below that, and the alto flute, which is a fifth of a difference. You know all of this, I'm sure. I'm just kind of sharing it because I'm a music nerd. I just have to say it. But when I play the piccolo, any animal that I've ever had runs for the hills. Like, this is not pleasant for them. This is really, I feel terrible. Like, I'm like, if I could put some earplugs in for you, I might do that. But I've never actually done it, but it might not be a bad idea. And then when I had my cat Marigold, passed away almost 5 years ago now, but who my house call practice is named after. I memorialized her after she died, and I rebranded and made my practice named Marigold Veterinary. And so Marigold was my heart cat. She was my, like my soul cat. And when I would play flute, it's pretty high pitched. It's higher pitched than I think what most animals really want to hear. But when I would play Bach sonatas, that is a little bit lower, mid range on the flute. And she would sit by my feet when I would play Bach sonatas and nothing else. And so I always found that incredibly interesting. And I played native flutes for my patients. I played my flute for my patients. And it's very clear you hit a certain note and they're just not interested. But on the lower ranges of the flute, they seem to like it. And when I play my bass flute, my cat Maggie, who I have now, will come over and sit with me. So it's what you're saying is in practice, I've seen it. I've really seen it. I've experienced it. And I'm just so excited about how you weave together the empirical, the evidence-based, and the biometrics with the reality that music is kind of a spiritual experience. Like, it touches us beyond these metrics as human beings. And for animals, conceptually, why would it lower an animal's heart rate? What conceptually are they getting from this? What is the touching within them? And that may be something that remains to be known. That's part of the mystery that is almost the definition of spirituality. It's beyond the empirical. And so I personally connect in that way, just in how I operate in the world, but especially through music and especially through my connection with animals. And so I just love how you weave these things together and that circle of giving to the audience and receiving from the audience and just lifting the mood and the spirits. And sometimes it's beyond words. And especially classical music is meant to be very dynamic. It's meant to take you high, take you low. I cry when I listen to Brahms symphonies and Beethoven sometimes, and we don't want our animals crying. So what like what I've noticed about this beautiful music that you have for animals that I use for my patients, I use for Maggie at home now. I wish I'd had it when I had Marigold 5 years ago, but I didn't. But it's very, I wouldn't say uniform because music isn't really uniform, but it's smooth. It's even keeled. I'll listen to it myself when I just need to take the notch down. If something's going on, I just like listen to that and just chill myself, get a couple essential oils, sniff them, and light a candle. And I listen to the pet acoustics. I'm an animal. We're all animals. We listen to
Fun.
music. We have music. We use music in so many therapeutic ways. Sometimes it's to move emotions, something that might be stuck. We move it through us. Sometimes it's to ground. Sometimes it's to connect. Sometimes it's just to feel comfortable in our skin. Hey everyone, this is Dr. Eve Harrison here. For my fellow house call veterinarians who feel the daily weight of solo practice, and for those dreaming of mobile practice but unsure where to begin, this one's for you. I'm super excited to announce that registration is now open for our 4th annual House Call and Mobile Vet Virtual Conference, February 1st and 2nd, 2025. So mark your calendars, because whether you're struggling with pricing, boundaries, work-life balance in your current mobile practice, or you're looking for a clear roadmap to start your house call journey, we've got you covered. This isn't just another CE event. It's certainly not another corporate CE event. This is the only event of its kind taught for house call vets by house call vets that covers exactly what is relevant to you. We're diving deep into the real challenges of mobile practice, from managing red flag clients, to firing clients who aren't a good match, to knowing what to do when business is slow, to marketing, to starting a house call practice, to all sorts of integrative and holistic gems, standard Western house call medicine pearls, to working through grief and challenges during IHE. to tackling imposter syndrome. We've got you covered in all of these ways. You'll leave with actionable strategies to increase your income, protect your time, and build a practice that truly works for you. Here's what two of our attendees had to say. Thank you, Eve, for an amazing conference. I love how you spoke from your heart and how you and the speakers were so encouraging. I've been thinking for a while about going mobile solo, and you made me feel empowered, knowledgeable, and not alone in designing the work lifestyle I want. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. That was Dr. S, and she is now an active house call vet, which makes me so happy. And then we have another testimonial from Dr. K. This conference is so fab. The small group breakout sessions are perfect for introverts, learning practical and personal skills I can put into practice immediately. Worth every penny and so nice to soak in the wonderful collegial vibe of my people, my community. So if you're feeling excited, inspired, and ready to sign up, don't wait too long. Early bird registration is open only through January 1st, 2025. And the first 50 people to register will receive a special bonus package that I've personally curated to help you implement everything that you've learned. Head to the link in the show notes or www.dreveharrison.com to secure your spot and join a community of veterinarians who understand exactly what you're going through because we're living it too. I'm Dr. Eve Harrison, and I can't wait to show you just how amazing mobile practice can be with the right support and community behind you, and to celebrate with those of you who already know exactly how life-giving this path can be. Now back to our show.
You bring up something that I want to share, which is a very simple concept about animals and music and sound. And that is, so the ear canal for a dog and a cat is longer than it is for the human. So sound is going into their ear, goes into the inner ear, and then it comes up to their membrane. And that is, if the sound is not, how they get triggered is that it becomes pressure in the inner ear. Sound, if a sound is a pressure, too loud, too high, too low, that pressure is what triggers the animal behavior. And then, so it's a very simple concept. It moves them. It might move them towards the sound, might move them away from the sound. I mean, think of in the wild, they're using their hearing for survival all the time, every minute of every day. Cats do it every minute of every day. They're checking everything out all the time. And so that simple concept of air pressure into the ear triggers behavior. Just think about that, because for a pet caregiver, that is something observable. And they talked about music. Music is a language that animals understand. So, you don't have to talk to an animal with words. They're energetic beings. They're working off of your energy. Everything is energy, energy, energy. And music is an energy. So they get it. They get it. And, I'll just professionally going from working with humans, which takes sometimes a lot of effort to move from this space to that space with music. That's what being an artist is that you're a musician, is that you are working to elevate. For an animal, they've got it within 1 minute. Animals get it within 1 minute. They know if they're safe and connected and the environment is not triggering that pressure in the ear. All I have to do is, I'm safe, I'm connected, I'm balanced. On my products, that's what I say. Music for behavioral balance.
Really?
Very important.
Really love that. I love that. I find that conversation around energy and vibration really, really interesting as a veterinarian and as a science background person and focused on evidence-based and studies and all of this stuff. And there's so much talk about energy these days in the quantum and things like that. And I think for a while I had a good bit of resistance to it. I was like, this shit, and I mean, I'm also quite a spiritual person at the same time, so it's a little bit silly that I had such resistance to it. But the more I think about it, the more I lean into that paradigm of thinking about things. And you don't have to, there's some things that remain a mystery, right? Like, we don't have to know everything. We don't have to have a study for everything for reality to continue existing, right? But it is very interesting. I've leaned more and more into that sort of language of animals being energetic beings without so much of the like, well, what does that mean? I think in terms of reading energy, cats, for example, you come at them with a pill in your hand. They know, they start running. You haven't even tried to give them the medicine. They feel the energy, they feel the mood, they read the room. That's another way of saying they can read the room beyond words, beyond anything's been done. And, like they can tell I'm a vet. Some animals, not all of them. I try very hard for my patients not to know I'm a vet, but the ones that are extremely sensitive, the ones that are very fearful, they read the room. They're like, "You're paying a little bit more attention to me than I would like. Something is off. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna go hide." And that's most of my patients don't have that, but like the ones that read energy, the ones that are like beyond this is obviously beyond verbal stuff, right? It's beyond I did something. It's beyond I said something. It's beyond I took out my stethoscope. It's I feel your energy. I'm reading the room and you're paying a lot of attention to me. And usually that's what vets or like you're looking at me too intently, something's off. And I find that very, very fascinating. And I think for animals that are so tuned to literally reading the room or reading the forest or reading like the temperature, reading the color of the air, like is it night? Is it what time of day is it? What are the little tiny sounds that humans can't even hear? Like you said, cats, like they know someone's coming home before they're anywhere near the door. Whether that's a sound or they're perceiving something beyond our perceptual capacity, they are such masters of perception of the senses. Yeah. And I think that's, to me, what has started to resonate as far as what it means that an animal is an energetic being. And therefore, of course, music is going to get through to them without the riffraff of the cognitive story, the narrative. There's no narrative. You go straight from sensation to understanding in a creature of that nature, right?
Totally. And the power of having, and we'll say pet acoustics music, because this is what I believe in, and to be between you and that cat during an exam is it takes that edge off because it's no longer that the cat is understanding the music. You're calming down because of the music, because it has a secondary effect on humans. The staff is quieter.
100%.
Yeah. So,
100%. Absolutely.
and I'm totally focused on veterinarians, have been for a while, but I'm passionate about helping them, helping the clinics. I mean, I'm working with amazing companies like Casco Pet in the UK. They're now in the United States. Global, they make these incredible multi-sensory enclosures. There's no metal. I recommend checking them out, Casco Pet. I'm working with Therian in Australia and New Zealand. They're also great people. They're all using my music for veterinarian facilities. And so, for the exam room, for post-op, for faster healing, they're using music during surgery. And, especially during euthanasia. I mean, our beautiful Dr. Dale Cryer, who brings my music everywhere, the transitioning of life through, and then having this kind of cloud of music, which is, again, as you say, very smooth. I design the music for these animals so that it's perfect for their experience as a journey. There's just so many ways in which music, as you know, can be used to fill an environment so that everybody is more in the present.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Bringing everyone onto the same page of being in the present. Animals are always in the now. It's them not in the now. And I think that absolutely is how, when I bring your music with me to house calls, like I gift this like little thing to my clients sometimes, like they love it. And I also just bring it to the appointments too. So I've kind of become like Dale, just a little obsessed. I'm very, very excited about this aspect of how I do my house calls and bringing like really a lot of attention on the behavior and the mood and the tone and the safety for the animal and also the people and myself. When I myself am calm, dropped in, I'm in the now, I do my best work. My clients feel comfortable, the animal feels comfortable. It all is like, it's a circle. It really continues to feed back on itself. And I use essential oils in a similar way that if we're all calm, we're all nourished, we're all having a beautiful experience, the animal is too. usually, or if it's a tough experience for the animal, it takes the notches down a few for all of us there.
I have some stories that I can share.
Please. Yeah.
Unusual stories because we know that the music will calm the animals. I had a woman call me and she said, "This, I'm so and so, and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you." And I would say, "Oh, thank you very much. What is this for?" She said, "My horse." So I'm very well known for my equine music, and my horse had narcolepsy. So the horse would just fall down asleep, and it would injure itself, and there was no control over helping the horse because it would get gashes from falling on metal parts of the barn and et cetera, et cetera. And she said she tried everything, and she just on a whim decided to try my Pet Tunes equine and completely changed her horse's ability to calm and then find its way into the hay in the stall without falling and to be able to not injure itself, which is amazing.
The two real results. That's really tangible, a tangible improvement. Yeah.
Unusual stories like rabbits. I once did a study with puppies, and there happened to be some rabbits in a cage nearby, and I played the canine music, and then I looked over to the rabbits, and the rabbits were all completely asleep. But rabbits can detect a sound 1.8 miles away, a vibration. 1.8, a rabbit. But that's their survival. And so
Prey animals. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So I had somebody who used the music. I went in to do a study with her, and the rabbit would not allow the person to pick it up for any reason. It just was growling, played the music, and now she was able to pick up the rabbit and move it around, and the rabbit's having an entirely different life just because this music is relaxing and addressing the tension in the rabbit so that it can release. I've gotten
Here, I just wanted to try again. But here's the package that I'm sending from Vet Tech. And I just wanted to try again because this is literally the rabbit music that is it just started playing in the envelope. So I have to wait till it runs out before I mail it so that the post office is not we can't mail this, it's playing music.
post office workers love it. It's happened to me. All of a sudden it started to play, and they go "We were just enjoying the music." We've gotten cats off of Prozac. So much stress traveling in a car.
Yeah.
Same thing with dogs. And I think we are moving into a new level of understanding of the power of music for humans and animals just from everybody's work. We are going to prescribe music. I actually have veterinarians that prescribe my music before a drug. Yeah, it's very, very exciting. And here, may I show my new 8-pack?
Please.
This is my new 8-pack.
Hello.
These oral my Pet Tunes, and people will be able, veterinarians especially, and people who own pet stores can order the 8-pack. And I'm very excited about that. There's just lots to do. Eve.
So much to do. What a gift. Oh, I'm so excited. I've had the dog and the cat one, and I just bought your book, which you mentioned before we hopped on the call, and I also bought the expanders for the small animal and rabbit, which I gifted to my technician, which will be mailed once it runs out. And I also got the nature sounds, and yeah, so that they're all on my list. But that's so cool that you have it as one big pack. That's great for vet clinics or practices that are really just seeing a lot of different types of animals. And I'm this is very selfish of me that I'm having you on right now because I'm giving a lecture at our House Call and Mobile Vet Virtual Conference, February 1st and 2nd, 2025. And I'm preparing a lecture on sound healing for animals from both the empirical and from the full experience perspective of being a house call veterinarian and what that adds for our patients, for our clients, for our businesses. And so I was I got to talk to you before I give this lecture. I will definitely be quoting you and using references from your book and your studies. I already know that's going in there. And I was just curious kind of on the subject. There's a lot of discussion about sound healing in humans that makes use of crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, tuning forks. There's binaural beats, which I use all of that for myself. And I've dabbled with animals as well in those realms. Of course, playing my instruments for animals, playing different music, all that. I'm really curious if you have any thoughts on the bowls and the tuning forks and solfeggio, any of that type of stuff that's a little bit more out there with animals, their behavior or their mood and things like that.
Yeah, my personal opinion, and I haven't done this in a while, but I know the crystal bowls well, and it's very intense for animals. Those tools are very intense because
Mhm.
they hear so much and they feel so much more than we. I mean, when we were cavemen and even, further up to where we are, our senses were much more heightened. We're dulling our senses all the time. And that's why it's great having a dog or a cat or a horse or a bird or a rabbit because they engage us in our own senses. They require it. They say, hey, pay attention. This is happening. That's no. Oh my God. Did you see that butterfly? Oh my God. It's very exciting to live on a higher frequency along with them. I know that's my new favorite word is high frequency. But I think people should be very cautious about the intensity of the sound. Yeah, it's intense for them. I've done it with dogs and cats in my environment, and they're not that, because remember that simple pressure in the ear. And because we have still conceptual hearing, that's how our brain can say, the fire truck is over there, the drum is over there, that we can understand the world conceptually, but they don't. Their survival is just like, too loud, I'm out of here. And that's why
Mhm.
stunt arms and fireworks is so intense for them. It's kind of the same thing. So, everything is an evaluation. Just follow them. Just follow. They tell us what's too much. They tell us.
Absolutely. I've really found the same thing. Like, as a player of an instrument that is too high for animals, like the piccolo, it's too high, it's too loud. I'm very aware of the phenomenon of too much for them. And I think with music, it can be one of those less is more. And truth be told, I've found recordings of bowls where you can actually modulate the volume
Mhm.
is much more amenable. Otherwise, like, you could get the animal used to it, but it takes time, and why?
Yep.
Why? You know what I mean?
Mhm. There's So I will plug my iPhone in the middle of the night to charge it, and I can see my dogs laying down. And I'm so sensitive to sound, and I know what everything's going to happen. And so I'm always avoiding different things. And then the little cord at the end, the little cord at the end. And I know it makes that little on the floor if it goes down to the floor. And the dog, what's that?
Yep.
What's that? It's just incredible how they hear. How they hear. So you
The subtle, yeah, like, in the
subtle
world
things,
of the subtle is where they live, right?
the subtleties, right? And so we need to be sensitive to those subtleties as well.
Absolutely. Well, man, we could keep going for ages. We have so much to talk about. I would love to close up the episode and see if there's anything that you'd like to say to house call vets, anything that might help them, any advice you might have, suggestions, tips. What might be useful for a house call veterinarian or future house call veterinarian who's listening to us right now in the realm of sound for animals and how we might use that to make the experience better for all of us?
Well, I think if they're interested in checking out Pet Tunes, which is a 2-inch box, very easy. It has a lanyard. It can be clipped onto a belt or a bag. I would come in immediately into a house call with the music playing super low, but just that will not only help the dog or the cat, but it'll help the human as well, even though they won't realize it. And then, just say, hey, I'm playing this music and the introductions and then the meeting of the pet. And then whatever your procedure is needed, you can't go wrong with having that additional soundscape to help them feel calmer. I mean, that's the idea. And I know Dr. Dale Cryer has many stories that she's shared with me. And to come into a situation with that as a tool, it can be, very, very, very helpful because I know you guys are amazing people. I know the compassion and the kindness that you offer people. And I know it's very hard dealing with the human usually. Sometimes they're so tense, they don't realize it, and their anxiety level is high. And so you're not only dealing with the animal, but you're dealing with the human. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And then how do you guys debrief? How do you guys find your center, your balance after that experience? Because the giving is just intense. It's a lot. And then you have to come back to yourself. And it doesn't have to be my music. It can be whatever music moves you. So I think it's
Love it.
really, and I highly recommend a very good blueberry muffin.
That's some good self-care right there. Some pet tunes and a blueberry muffin. How can people find you? I love all of this that you have to say. What are the best ways that people could get access to what you have to offer?
My website, petacoustics.com, has a wealth of information. It offers videos, biometric studies. There's a listening page. You can listen to all examples of the music. And it's user-friendly. It's the best way to understand what is happening in my world of Vet Acoustics and the offerings that we have. And the store is very easy to shop at. And sometime in the end of January, we'd love to have people join our newsletter so that they will be first to know about the pet hearing test app. And we also offer people who join Pet Acoustics to have discounts, especially veterinarians. And I'll just say for any veterinarians, we do a 15% discount on any of our products with the code VET. And that is the offer because we want veterinarians to utilize this because they embrace so many animals throughout their career. So that's where I can be found. And I would love to hear from anybody who has any questions. And I can be easily accessed through the same website, Acoustics.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this. I find that I think most house call vets know this intuitively, but creating a mood, creating an atmosphere, creating safety for the human and the animal are of utmost importance, much more so. I think it's probably more important in the clinic, but in the home, you're in the home of the person. Trust is everything. Mood is everything. In the clinic, it's almost not the MO to even care about such things. But in the home, it's incredibly important to create a positive experience for everyone involved and also for your business to do well. I think that's one of the top things that will get your business, for those listening, to be very successful and nourishing, not only for your clients and your patients, but for yourself. And I think that's key to sustainability and overall net positive for everyone involved, essentially. So thank you so much for your wisdom here and for your gifts to our profession, to our patients, to animals. And I can't wait to connect further and hopefully get the entire animal pack that you have, that you showed me, and to dive into the book that you've written. And just thanks again so much. And so pleased to finally catch you out there.
This was so wonderful. I loved speaking with you, and thank you for doing the podcast and looking forward to hearing the responses. And thank you for all you do. Yes, it's beautiful.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the House Call Vet Cafe. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never have to miss an episode. This podcast is made specifically for you, so don't be shy if you'd like to reach out and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as The House Call Vet Academy, where I also share more valuable content. If you're interested in learning more about consulting for house call vets or the House Call Vet Academy online course and community, please click on the link in the show notes. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I can't wait for you to join us for our next episode of the House Call Vet Cafe.